All right. Welcome back for the the 262 Talks podcast. We're a little short staffed today, but we got Daniel, we got Hannah, Kyle, and we got me, Hope, and then we got my friend Ben joining me today too to
Special guest, special guest.
special guest, special guest. Um, big week. Big week coming up.
Big week for the podcast.
Yeah, so hopefully by now everyone's checked out the interview with Todd Onstead that Daniel and Isaac did, because that was pretty sweet. Awesome opportunity to have that. So shout out to him for being on. Uh, first order of business is gonna be, I don't want to say her name, guys. I don't want to. There it is. Oh my!
I love it.
Well, if we're doing backgrounds,
Hold on a second.
That's the one.
What is it? How am I gonna? There we go. There he is. Sorry, guys.
He's there. He's there.
okay, before we actually get started, I legit was about to look for a picture of me and you, Hope, and make it the background, but I just didn't have time to do it.
That's got to be next time.
Next time, we can just do a bunch of funny backgrounds and just pretend that we didn't even.
We can pretend we're all in the same room, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, just have one of the other creators as our background. Like, I'll just have a picture of Kyle. Like, Hope has Hannah.
It works out.
Can we quickly, before we get on to business, since tomorrow is spooky day, can we just how's everyone doing? We can talk about how's everyone doing really quick. Like, anybody doing anything fun for Halloween?
Work.
No, I don't have work. That sucks. But you're gonna be around a bunch of decorations, so you can pretend.
No.
Oh.
Halloween at Target is not pretend. It's, hey, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, never mind. Let's go into the topics then.
Oh, I was gonna. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to a White Lies party tonight, and I'm putting. I
Right.
voted for Trump, so I'm gonna make a lot of people mad here.
You don't wear a mask though, right?
Oh, duh! Masks all the time.
Good. We're proud of Hannah, right? Everybody slow clap for Hannah. Okay. All right, we go ahead now.
Is anyone else doing anything fun? Just Hannah?
I'm going to Wakanda tomorrow with my girlfriend to shut up, you guys. Because to finally get her a brick of a phone. And then we might go to one of her friends' Halloween parties, but I don't know if we are or not. So,
Kyle, anything fun?
I
how's
might.
in Hell Week?
I might go to a couple parties, but I'll be calling voters, for 8 hours all day, and I'll get drunk after. I'll tell you that.
If my phone rings sometime in this next week and I answer it and it's just like, hey, I'm like, Kyle?
Kyle?
What's up, my guy?
If it's at like 2 a.m., it might be me like, Daniel, you gotta vote, man. I'm just saying.
All right, why don't we get into it now?
Yeah.
Get into it.
First one's gonna be Amy Coney Barrett.
Oh.
I feel like we got
girl herself.
we gotta talk about it.
Oh.
We gotta talk about it. Daniel, you look like you got something to say. So just
Well, it's just I think I have a similar outrage that everyone else has, where it's like, there's a certain level where it's like, oh, life is unfair, so you can't really necessarily say that oh, it's unfair that the Republicans denied Obama's selection for a Supreme Court justice for months in 2016. But then suddenly they're cool with sorry, Ashley messaged me and she's having trouble. Can you send it to her, Hope?
Yeah, I got it. Keep going. I'll take care
And
of it.
suddenly they just hammer dick fucking Amy Coney Barrett through. And, even though this is the first, this is the first Supreme Court confirmed with down party lines since 1899 or something like that. It's been like a dummy long time where the vote on a Supreme Court justice was perfectly down party lines. That doesn't happen usually. Usually there's some kind of it's usually not as partisan. And the fact
even like conservative Democrat Joe Manchin has voted in favor of Trump's other appointments, I believe, but he did not vote in favor of Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, so it's also just, in my opinion, I think that the Democrats could have done a lot more to stall between just pushing BS bills through that would have, because of House precedent, they would have been forced to the forefront. And then they could have played as dirty as the Republicans usually play, in my opinion, for just one time. Just one time the Democrats could have grown a pair and then been as bullish as the Republicans are. But since the Democrats they never play as dirty as the Republicans do. And that's one of the most frustrating things that I have when it comes to the Democratic Party. I feel like they definitely could have stalled a bit more, even if they would have just been able to stall past the election. And then somehow, say hypothetically, Biden wins on the election, they push past the election. It would have been, in my opinion, way harder to push the general public to be okay with pushing.
No, he just said he was fine. Okay, I love you, bye.
I'm not gonna go on like a 10-minute rant on it. I'm upset for my friends in the LGBTQ plus. I'm upset for my, the women in my life who could potentially be facing losing some of their bodily autonomy. I'm upset for, people who are under the age of 26, like myself, who will be facing potentially not being able to have health care because we won't be able to be on our parents' plans anymore.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that was something that the ACA does, where if you're under the age of 26, you can be on your parents' plan. But if they get rid of the rest of the Affordable Care Act, that goes with it.
Okay, well, that's crazy because I've been trying to sign up for state insurance and that takes a long time, but I'm on my mom's plan and I have a lot of bills for mental health care and that stuff is really expensive. So should I start
that he's trying to get
planning,
rid
or,
of?
What do I do?
Good luck.
The parts of the ACA that they're trying to get rid of are the parts that are really popular, like protections for pre-existing conditions, the option for people under 26 to be on their parents' plans, those are parts of the ACA that were extremely popular. It's just, I know you probably have some opinions on this too.
Yeah, I do have a lot of opinions on this. I'm as upset as I think most of, if not all of us are, about Amy Coney Barrett. I don't fully agree with you, Daniel. I don't know that Democrats need to resort to the same tactics as Republicans. I also don't know if there's much they could have done. I know they couldn't have done a filibuster because Republicans got rid of that for judicial appointees.
What's a filibuster?
When they just keep talking and you prevent a vote from taking place.
Okay.
You can legitimately stand there and read out of the dictionary and just go and go.
Bernie Sanders did an 18-hour filibuster one time, didn't he?
He did, and him and Rand Paul have gone back and forth with the longest ones.
I heart Bernie.
We are a Bernie Stan account. Actually,
Yes.
Hey, Bernie's boring.
And you support Joe Biden. Who are you talking about? I'm on you.
Anyways, we're gonna get back on the topic. We're gonna get back on the topic instead of Bernie's boringness, and we're gonna talk about.
It's on site, Kyle.
We're gonna talk about the Supreme Court, and I don't fully agree with you, Daniel, that that's what that's what Democrats should have done. But I also don't know if that's what Democrats wanted to do. And this is where I almost feel like some Democrats may have been playing this dirtier than they should have been. Because maybe some Democrats wanted Amy Coney Barrett to get appointed. Because maybe some of them view it as good for Biden in the election, good for Senate Democrats in the election. And if they were thinking politically, it might play for them. But is that like a good way to be a representative? Hell no.
I think it risks way too much.
I see where you're coming from, but that puts too much at stake.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I completely agree, and shame on anyone that thought that way. But it doesn't make much sense that they wouldn't have tried anything else unless they knew it played for them.
What are the chances of like that actually working, like that tactic?
I mean, it takes away it. I don't know. I think, say, if Kyle's, hypothesis is actually true, what it could do is maybe bring over a little bit of those moderates who were like on the fence, those independents who aren't quite sure. And now they're seeing like, oh, wow, that was kind of shitty. Republicans don't even hold to their own word, from things that they were saying only a couple of years ago. I'm going to vote for Biden. I think that sliver of the vote isn't big enough to justify putting the ACA at risk, justify putting Roe v. Wade at risk, justify putting LGBTQ rights at risk. But I can see from a weird perspective where they would be trying to get from that, but it's just that would be too much of a risk if that's what actually people were trying to do.
Well, I can see that though, because a lot of the libertarian pages and groups and stuff that I follow too are loving her for some reason. Like her face is plastered all over their pages.
And she's hot, so
that, and they think they're like, oh, it's a woman. Like, I don't know why we're not all supporting her, and like, good job this, and this is a great way to go. And I'm just like, how though? Like, what were you thinking? Why are you all into this right now? I don't understand.
Maybe they're
not
paying attention. Like,
it's just like, oh, okay.
What were you saying, Ben? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's fine. Well, earlier I was saying they could have done more to highlight the hypocrisy just of her, like, being there. Like, Republicans have never held off, like, showing every little detail of Democrats' past things they've said. They'll bring up clips. They'll bring up everything. Democrats could have done more to highlight, like, just show the public more of, like, they literally went on air and said they weren't gonna do this. Here they were.
They should have done one thing and brought it up from their past. The fact that she was one of the lawyers that helped in the 2000 election that gave Bush the White House, when it really in all reality should have been Al Gore. That should have been the one thing that should have just completely canceled the fact that she could have ever been a Supreme Court justice, because then that shows where Trump's mind is in nominating her. Hey, she helped the president who didn't win the election before. Let's help it. Maybe she'll, pat me on the back this time. That would have been a power move.
She's also like extremely underqualified.
Oh yeah,
she was qualified for her views.
She's never tried a trial.
Yep.
I mean, she's extremely unqualified. But so I mean, there is a way to fix this though. And like a lot of people talk about court packing and how Joe Biden won't take a stance on it. And I mean, to be honest, I don't support court packing. Like, I don't support just adding a few justices and taking over the court because now we have more liberal justices. I think that's just as broken of a system as what we have. But what I draw back on is a plan that Pete Buttigieg actually, it was one of the plans that drew me to his campaign when he was running. And that was complete reform of the Supreme Court. So what Pete would have done was he would have created a system where there were 15 judges on the Supreme Court. 5 would be chosen by the Democratic Party, 5 would be chosen by the Republican Party, and then those 10 would select the other 5 members. So you would have to have crossover support. You would completely eliminate partisanship from it. But I love a plan like that. I think that's what Joe Biden should look at doing, so that he's not necessarily packing the court and instead of just depoliticizing it. But I know there's going to be some people that said, well, the Republicans screwed us. Let's screw them and just throw in a couple more liberal justices. But I don't know that I don't like that plan.
See,
Yeah, I don't like that train of thought.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rat Boy. I mean Pete Buttigieg. I do agree with that, like, that notion, like those ideas, like and those could be something that I would like to see Joe like go look into, because with this notion of court packing, I don't agree with it, because then it's just going to go to one of those back and forths where, say, Joe packs the court this time. Now we have a liberal. Next time we have a Republican president, they're going to just be like, oh, we're going to throw in 2 more judges. And then,
Never ends.
and by the time we're 40, there's suddenly going to be 45 more judges. And like they could start their own church choir. It's going to be sick.
Their own cult.
Yeah.
For song.
Daniel, did you say my name before?
Yeah, I want to know what your opinion is on this, because I know you've been kind of doom and gloom.
Well, I don't know like a lot in depth about what's going on and what it means and what could have been done or what can be done now. I'm just kind of scared, I guess, for what could happen, like worst case scenario, because it feels like women already are kind of limited in what they can do with the bodies that they own.
Yeah.
So hearing some of the things that come out of her mouth, it makes me nervous about maybe that getting worse. But
Yes.
Can I actually ask a question? And this is for the group, this partially for Kyle, because I feel like he might have a very solid opinion on this, but I do want to ask the ladies of the group too, and
What's
Ben.
up?
The one piece of legislation that I know is going to immediately get thrown out is the
Roe
ACA.
versus Wade.
I have no question they're going to turn over the ACA. I have no question that they'll do that. But Kyle, I know you want to say something. Let me get to my point. When it comes to something like Roe v. Wade or gay marriage, I'm almost hesitant to say that I am for sure that they are going to overturn those things. And here's my reason. Those two issues are really strong Republican talking points. Those have been talking points since basically they've been put in place. Only 25% of the United States actually supports revoking Roe v. Wade. It's a very popular piece of legislation and law. So it would almost be politically disastrous for the Republican Party to overturn something like Roe v. Wade. I know that's what Trump has been saying, but what Trump says and what actually might get done, I don't know if the Republicans are willing to risk throwing out, one, a talking point like Roe v. Wade and how they want to overturn it and stuff, but two, it would be something that would basically guarantee a massive hit during the next next election cycle for like the Senate and Congress. That's just me. I don't know if you guys necessarily agree with that, but that's just what I'm hoping or thinking. But
so you think they won't get rid of it because then they can't fight about it?
Yeah.
That makes sense, but
I don't think they would give up a talking point like that, like how they're so pro life and they need to get rid of Roe v. Wade, because then it becomes a state thing, and when you're in the federal government, it doesn't matter. At that point, you can't really be bringing that up as much. It loses teeth.
They could still most definitely bring it back up, but without like the fight aspect that you're thinking of. So you know how that one time you won an argument, that one phrase that you used to win that argument becomes like your star phrase. So let's say that actually happens, but for some reason there's just enough lunatics in the world to be on their side about it. They're going to use that not as an argument point, but as a winning point. You remember how I did that one thing and I got away with it? Watch me do this next. And that's what they're going to push. Like if they get that and they have enough people who follow them, then they're going to use that to continue to grow. And that's exactly where they're going to go. They don't need to use it as an argument. they can use it as I did this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Kyle?
I mean, I actually agree with everything Ashley said. And I see it more as like, so ACA, I'm not as worried about if Biden wins because Biden can withdraw that right away. It doesn't mean that a Republican governor somewhere can't make a lawsuit after that, sure, which is what I think will happen with Roe versus Wade as well. I think it will just take one ultra conservative evangelical governor will make that fight start. And then what they'll do is if Joe Biden packs or reforms the court, that'll be their new attack. They'll say Joe Biden prevented us from doing this, or Kamala Harris prevented us from doing this if she's the nominee in 4 years, and they'll use it. They'll find some way to use it, even if they can't get it done quite yet.
Exactly. To the core. Exactly. Because all it takes is just one small politician in one small hometown to grow just enough to get enough people behind him. I used to say that all the time. Just because I'm talking to just you four does not mean that tomorrow I wouldn't have reached 1,000.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Hope you have anything to add to that?
No, I both parts of that make sense. It's kind of just like processing it in my head in terms that I can understand a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like what I was thinking about, like when just Amy, geez, God. It's just like, just because she's a woman doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to fight for all women's rights in any aspect. Like her religious views are definitely going to weigh in no matter what she says. And people are like, yeah, well, women's have rights today. Who's going to take them? There's nobody that's going to take your rights. And it's like, but there's just a handful of lunatics who legitimately will go out and protest and be like, I don't think women should have the right to vote. I think it should be up to households and it should be up to the man to, make that final decision. And there's just enough people that if she gains enough attention and she even makes the smallest remark towards those things, that group's going to grow so fast and it's not going to be long. Like, if she stays in power forever, or if Trump gets reelected and wants to wing it that way, it's going to be something that grows big enough and loud enough to affect one too many people. And it's going to slowly start getting back to that point. It may not be in a year or two from now, but it's something that could happen in like 8 to 10 years. And that's a place that, my kid would have to grow up in. It's a worst case scenario, but that kind of situation is very plausible with her being in a position that she's in a open religion that she's even stated that she's signed her life over to. How do you even admit to signing into a religion and not be considered a cult? By the way,
Yeah.
I signed my name over, but it's not a cult. It's fine. We're just all really good friends that pray to Jesus. It's fine.
Could I ask the group one question? It's slightly off topic, but Ashley, you made me think of it somehow in what you were
I'm
saying.
for it. I got my water and my cat is entertained.
So I was having a discussion with some of my other friends at work that and one of my my buddies he brought up how he thinks whichever party loses, we will see potentially a fracturing of that party between, say it's the Democrats, say Joe loses somehow, whether it's legitimately or illegitimately. He was saying, now I'm not going to bring up whether or not I agree with him. I'm going to keep my opinion on this to myself. He said that if, Joe loses, he could see that the Bernie Sanders side of the Democratic Party and the progressives, like the AOCs and the Ilhan Omars, them breaking off almost into their own party or something because the Democrats have let them down yet again. And then conversely, he was saying that if Trump loses, he could see that the Republican Party splits up between the Ted Cruz, like the original regular Republicans who are all monsters anyway, Yeah. And then the 35% of, Trump supporters are just fanatical and crazy. And like see the Republican Party divide that way. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with my friend's opinion. I did want to bring it up, and I just, for some reason, Ashley made me think about it.
Look at me.
So I just kind of want to see what you guys thought. I thought that would be like a fun question to ask. Do you guys see the losing party potentially breaking up after the election, having a split?
The Democrats honestly are barely together as it is. Like,
Mhm.
like you said, like the AOC Bernie side with like the more like towards the center Democrats are constantly fighting. Like we couldn't even get through a debate without them criticizing every little thing for each
I mean,
other.
the left is constantly snubbed by the center.
Even though they're supposed to be on the same side of this election, which is, it's not that black and white, but they're already at each other's throats. So I feel like if we lose this election, each part of the left basically is going to fight even more to be the prominent one in
Yeah.
power.
It's like this meme that Hope tagged me, and it was like this big muscly dog. It was like the Democrats making sure Bernie doesn't become the nominee, and then it was like, like the Democrats making sure Amy Coney Barrett doesn't get into the Supreme Court. It's like this tiny fluffy dog.
Like Pomeranian.
I think it's already kind of happening in its own way, because just like after the, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I'm just calling a whole blank right now.
Primary?
No, the debate. So right after the debate, like the first debate that they had, almost all of the independent parties that are going, like Joe Jorgensen and Howie, like all of their pages crashed from the amount of views that they got. It was just like the fact that, it was just like a big, cluster and argument. Just people just weren't happy about it. Both sides weren't happy about it. Nobody really liked the way it came out. And it caused so much like complaint, I guess, just from people in general, that they Googled other options and just wound up on Howie's site or wound up on Joe Jorgensen's site, just trying to find a different outlook. And if it doesn't go in their favor this time, then it's more than likely going to lead to a third party attempt again from more people, just because they're trying to find an outsource because they're just unhappy.
I mean, I would personally love if the left wing or the progressive wing, whatever you want to call it, of the Democratic, I would love to see them break off and become their own thing, because the Democratic establishment has consistently shown that they do not care what the left has to bring, what the left has to offer. They will constantly continue to
They
snub.
honestly need to at this point if they want any of their stuff across.
Yeah, and that you can point at the primary as a perfect example of, the Democrats desperately not wanting to have a progressive candidate or a left-leaning candidate as their choice, with all the backroom. I see you smiling, Kyle, but you have to
Let him talk after you're
the
done.
last minute backroom deals. The last minute backroom deals that happened before Super Tuesday. All coincidentally, all of the moderate candidates like Amy Klobuchar, Pete, Cory Booker with his 12 supporters, they all supported Joe Biden. And then, wow, holy shit, Bernie Light, Elizabeth Warren stayed through just to steal enough votes from him to where some of the key states, which would have gone and made it a contested convention, and would have forced the Democratic Party to show their hand. Wow, they didn't go to Bernie because those votes went to Warren, when statistically, if they had, like most of the people who had Warren as their first choice, Bernie was their second. And those are numbers, Kyle. You can't tell me wrong.
No, listen, so I have a different perspective on this, because I mean, as I've told you all, I voted third party 4 years ago. So I'm not like some anti-third party Democrat. Do I think that the Democratic Party is going to split up if they lose, though? Hell no. This year has made the Democratic Party more of a big tent than it's ever been. And we can talk about how it was such a big contested primary with so many different factions fighting each other. But in the end, we saw them all come together, and we saw them all rally around Biden with no problem. Not a single one. Even Tulsi Gabbard has endorsed Biden. Every
Mm.
single one of them have rallied behind him because the party is working together. And the
Is
party
that
knows
why
that-
Biden shits on Bernie every time he gets?
Let him speak.
well, Biden adopted
poked.
multiple Bernie proposals into his platform when Bernie endorsed him. A lot of stuff around criminal justice reform. He compromised him with him on health care. There's a lot of stuff in there, labor, a lot of stuff that they ended up agreeing on and that Biden adopted. And as long as we have leaders that are willing to work with both sides of the party like that, I think we're going to be fine. But I do sincerely believe we're headed towards a place where we have a rise in a third party. But I think it's coming from the right, not the left. I think that the Libertarian Party is going to get a lot more powerful over time. And this year, I don't think you're going to see the third party strength that you saw 4 years ago. I don't think Howie or Joe have the star power that Jill Stein or Gary Johnson did.
I'll admit that. No, they don't.
Our power.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But I just don't think we're going to see that. But if the Republicans lose this year, their whole party is going to be in shambles. They're already a broken party. They have been for more than 4 years now. They've got the Tea Party faction. They've got their moderates that are barely there anymore, and then they've got the Trumpers and the Libertarians. That's all going to freaking fall apart. But in my opinion, we've seen the moderates and the leaders of the left and the moderates, like Biden and Bernie, come together, work together. And something else you said about how during the primary, you think that Biden only won because the moderates got out. Listen, if everybody would have stayed in that, Pete Buttigieg was winning that primary, and Biden knew it.
I don't think I can agree with that. You
won Iowa. He was going to win in the Midwest.
He won Iowa, and then he lost the two next states that happened after that. And then his poll in the southern states was abysmal.
He was going to win in the Midwest, and it would have given him the surge he needed. But I guess we'll never know.
Would I have rather have seen, like, I call him Rat Boy because I just think the amount of back and forth he's done and like the pretend Obama voice that he tries to do.
That's Beto, man.
Would I have rather him over Joe? Yeah, because I don't want a geriatric man in the White House. But like, I don't know why I'm coming for all the moderates' throats tonight. I'm gonna
because I said Bernie was boring.
Oh yeah, I think that you triggered me earlier today when you said that. So I've been just in a kind of mood, gamer rage.
Play some Call of Duty after this.
I don't have consoles.
Let's wrap this topic up because you guys could go on forever with it.
Can I say one
Yeah,
more?
we need to hit the next one, don't we?
Ben's got a comment, and then we'll move on.
One thing about reforming Supreme Court, opinions on term limits for that.
Oh,
yes.
Well, now we just don't have any other topics.
We can all just say yes.
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 Term limits for everything.
Not into this.
Yes. Is it just we're just
And age caps.
Yes.
We need to have age caps for positions in government. If you have to be above 35 to be president, you should be below 75. And that includes Bernie. I know. I think he was too old to be president too.
I don't want old people to be president, but I struggle with an actual cap.
I think we should revisit this as a longer topic.
Yeah.
Like with a full conversation, because I think that'd be a good conversation to have.
I agree.
But I still want to make sure we get to talk about the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the mail-in ballots and what happened there. So I don't remember what the cutoff was. So Daniel, what you had told me is that the deadline for acceptance for mail-in ballots is Monday night.
Believe so. They had changed it to where even if it was postmarked to before the election, if it wasn't in by election day, they weren't going to count them, which is going to eliminate basically all of the votes that got sent out this week. And for people who maybe aren't watching the news or aren't staying as informed, that could potentially mean that their vote didn't matter and their vote's just going to get thrown away. Or it could put people in positions where they're going to be like, oh, there's no way my ballot gets in. I'm going to go in and mail. And then they went and broke the law by trying to double vote, which I don't know if there's like a weird database that they have for people who are sending in mail-in ballots. I don't know. I just think it's risky for, and the fact that it happened literally a week before the election, it's all sorts of shitty. I don't know. I'm gonna let you guys speak more on this, just because I feel like it's me saying, "Oh, fuck that,"
Well, that doesn't make I don't like that at all. 110%. Because like, how does the military get to vote then? Because a lot of us, if we're overseas, and that's what we do. We do mail-in ballots. Okay, well, if I'm in Okinawa, do you know how long it takes for my mail to get from Okinawa to you? It takes forever. Do you know how long it takes us to get packages? Even if they manage to get them sent out like 2 weeks ago, there's still that possibility that theirs isn't going to get there in time. And then you're not even including your military. So like, does your bumper sticker mean anything to you or no?
Damn.
I get really mad when I talk about that kind of stuff. It just irritates me. It's like, oh, support your troops. But you know what? If I see you homeless on the side of the street, I'm still not buying you a cheeseburger. That's what they're like. All of them.
Scathing take.
I just want to like set them all. Just call it out words.
The fire of these takes.
I need to go turn the heat down right now.
Honestly.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm voting in person. I was going to do mail-in ballot, but I was like, I don't even want to risk my ballot being thrown away by
exactly
Republican government in Wisconsin. Like, I don't want to risk it. Like, because Wisconsin and Michigan did a similar thing too, where I think theirs is even a little bit less restrictive, where it's if it's not in 3 days after election day, then they get thrown out and they don't matter or whatever. But Michigan and Wisconsin are two swing states that are very important to this election. So that's it. To me, it's a bit sus that they're doing something where a lot of blue votes could be getting thrown out because the Democrats are statistically more likely to do mail-in ballots.
Very much know that the Democrats are the ones doing primarily mail-in.
Yeah, and it's like, and you're doing it in two swing states where a lot of these people are mailing in their ballots. So what percentage of these votes are going to be thrown out? And then what's the likelihood that our state Supreme Court could just be like, yeah, we went to Trump, all these ballots, we haven't been able to count them, but they didn't in on this specific day. Was hope.
Thanks. I have like two questions. So you said a couple states are doing it and then another state is not. So if every state's doing it differently, like what's the point? Like if one state is still going to count them
exactly
3 days after election night.
The point is
then it's just so like blatantly obvious. I feel like I'm not thinking hard enough about it.
They're not trying to hide it.
And this shows you how stupid our election system is, because it's not only like this with the mail-in ballots. It's like this for just the electoral college system in every state anyway, because every state does their elections differently.
I mean, there's been tons of stuff where different states have different forms of suppression too. I'm sure you all heard about the Texas one where they had one ballot drop off per county.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna tie up every person that I meet that is 60-year-old and up for like the next week and do my own voter suppression. Just
for
kidding.
legal reasons, that was a joke.
Yeah, that was a joke.
For legal
yeah. Okay.
That was a joke. Well, I also had another question.
Yeah, sure.
Ask the question.
This is why our things don't get boosted.
Exactly. There it is. There it is.
Just say it.
Daniel's
I'll
on
see
the
myself out.
FIFA watch list.
Yeah.
I mean, probably.
I really
was
did have
waiting for
another
that to be
question.
said.
Okay.
So we're all concerned about like the mail-in ballots not being counted. I didn't like physically see this. I sent mine in with my mom's at the same time. She said we got like a confirmation that they were received and counted. So do I believe that? Like, is that?
There's a website, I think it's myvote.wi.gov, and that will tell you if your vote's been counted yet. The only thing I have to say on this is if you're sitting at home and you haven't brought in your ballot, if you're anywhere in the state of Wisconsin other than Kenosha, just screw it. Go in on Tuesday. Mask up, maybe wear some gloves, keep your distance, go in and vote on Tuesday.
And when he means mask, he means ski mask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I'm here to vote.
if you're in Kenosha, though, I have a lot of faith in Kenosha's clerk, Reggie. I think she's great, and I'm sure that she'll be checking that drop box quite frequently, and that all the clerks locally will. So if you got your ballot right now, go drive over to City Hall and turn it in right now. But don't do it much later. If you're going to be much later, just go on Tuesday.
Come with me. We can go and make fun of the Boo boys who are going to go out and try to intimidate us. We can
Ooh.
shit up.
Daniel, what did we just say?
We're already not getting boosted, so it's
I didn't say we're going to go fight them. Just clown them. Just be like, hey, your bottom row of teeth looks like a mosh pit.
Yeah, they hear one insult, they're like, boom, nope.
Your moss green Carhartt's real original.
Damn, you. I didn't know they made double XL body armor. That's crazy. GI Sloppy Joe.
We're offending people with this one. That's all
So
right.
anyway,
But
this
we're
is
talking about some Boogaloo boys, so we can clown them.
We can offend them.
topics.
Well, I hear
Just
some
call us
banging on my
snowflakes.
door.
Questions.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. I know there was one more thing we wanted to talk about. Do we want to move on to that at this point?
Well, do we have election predictions? Because I actually have a prediction now.
That's right. We had final election predictions. All right, Kyle, do you want to start that off then?
Sure. Hold on, I got a map. I'm gonna look at it.
Oh no.
Oh, you made an election map? I haven't gotten a
I-
chance to do that yet.
What?
I
Kyle's
did.
got a
I don't think I
PowerPoint
can share my
presentation.
screen, but that's fine. That doesn't matter. I
He's
can
like, hold up,
explain it.
guys.
Screen sharing.
All right, guys. So
Very nice
listen.
and color.
I'll try to make this very quick, but I have a prediction for how the presidential election is going to go down, the Senate races, and the governor races. I think that for president, everybody's watching Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona. Stop watching Florida, stop watching North Carolina, stop watching Ohio, stop watching Iowa. I think they're going to go Trump.
Oh yeah, North Carolina for sure. Sadly
Yeah.
enough, but for sure.
Florida,
I think
Florida
we
is still too close to call for me.
Florida's going Republican. They always disappoint. Sorry, any Floridians watching, but
I'll be there.
You're that Florida people, you're dumb. You make
Come
the bad
on,
mistake.
Daniel.
Daniel!
That was also a joke.
No, you're not dumb.
I used to live in Florida. I know.
All right, well, we're not going to get views, so.
Our
anyways,
entire page gets leaked.
Just
so
blocked.
all those states are going red. I think Arizona's going to go blue. I think that the Senate candidate out there carries us through. I think Michigan's going to flip to blue. I think because we've got a Democratic incumbent running for Senate out there, running a good campaign, I think it flips blue. So the three states that I'm watching for the presidential race on election night, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Texas. If things go the way that I think they're going to go, if Texas flips, it's game over for sure. Biden wins. If Texas goes red, then Joe Biden has got to win Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Do I think he can pull off Pennsylvania? Yes. Do I think he can pull off Wisconsin? It all depends on Kenosha, in my opinion. Legitimately, I'm not just saying that because we live there. Like, I think
It's coming on
Kenosha
Monday.
determine the race in Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Texas, those are the states I'm watching for president. In the Senate, I think that we are running things super close. I think that two races will determine if the Democrats take the majority. I don't think it'll be a big sweep like I kind of did for a while now. I think that because I think Democrats are going to lose in Iowa. I think they're going to lose in North Carolina. I think they'll probably lose in Texas. But we should win in Arizona. But we need to watch Montana and the regular race in Georgia. So Steve Bullock and John Ossoff are the two Democrats that need to win if the Democrats are going to take the majority of the Senate. And with governors, I think we are looking at a total Republican sweep except for Washington and Delaware. I think every other race goes Republican. Maybe the Democratic incumbent in North Carolina can pull a win out, but it's looking bad in North Carolina, in my opinion. So those are my predictions. And I guess I am leaning towards Joe Biden being victorious, but everything rides on Wisconsin and Pennsylvania.
I'm actually I wrote down like earlier today the states that I'm specifically watching on election night, and they're pretty similar to Kyle, but I'm watching Wisconsin, Michigan, Texas, and Florida because I don't, I agree, sometimes Florida can, be a disappointment when it needs to be a champ. But just for me, the polling is still within the margin of error, and I don't want to be the person who is doom and gloom. Since they are, because I believe Trump's only leading by 2 points, and that's still within the margin of error. We could have and the amount of Democratic registration in Florida was way higher than it was in 2016. So I don't want to say I'm confident that Biden will take Florida. I just feel good that it might be a surprise. Texas, I don't think it is going to flip blue this election. I think it will flip blue eventually with all of the like California people and people from the East Coast moving to Texas in the major cities. I think it will flip blue eventually. I don't think it'll be this election though. And then Wisconsin and Michigan, I'm purely watching because one, I live here. And then two, those are the 2 states that have been kind of sus with what they're doing with the mail-in ballots. I'm extremely concerned with what could happen in Wisconsin and Michigan with the mail-in ballots and how the state will rule in where they put their electoral votes. I'm pretty confident that Joe is going to take Pennsylvania, though. I'm not as worried about Pennsylvania. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to knock on wood. But like, I still feel like he does like well enough in Pennsylvania to where we can be comfortable in that. Do I think he's going to be like a crushing victory out there? No, it'll be decently close. And it's going to be the same with like any of these states. I don't think in any of these states that me and Kyle are watching that either of them will sweep winning it. I think it'll be a very even down to the last moment like kind of thing where, it might potentially be close enough for recounts in any one of these states. But I'm still rooting for our boy Biden. I'm on the Jokomotive. I
Make that a t-shirt.
I do think that if shenanigans go down, I do think if shenanigans go down with like how the Republicans are kind of lining up the pins to do them, I do think we could be in for a very interesting night or a very interesting week, actually. Yeah, I'm not gonna for sure say Joe at this point because I've seen some very sus stuff go down. So I'm very concerned and very stressy actually. But yeah, so let's keep working down the line. Hope and then Ben, and then we'll go Ashley and then Hannah.
Now wait a minute. That's
Go
my
Hope.
line.
Well, I have to
give your prediction real quick because I know you got stuff to do.
I honestly, it's gonna be so close. Trump might like seem like he won on election night,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's gonna win. So definitely, I'm riding with Biden.
I agree.
Do you think that because of your personal preference, or do you think that because of the numbers?
Because of what I see here in like a Trump loving city. Because the women who are voting are with like Trump people, like Trump boyfriends or whatever. But they come up to me and they're like, yeah, like I'm voting for Biden, da 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 da. So I feel like everyone's just kind of putting on like a front here. So I just really, it could go either way.
The Republicans talk about the secret Trump vote all the time, but I actually think there might be a secret Biden vote. Like, for like those more moderate like aunts who don't want to piss off their husbands. Like, hot take, but
Hot take. Love you guys.
all right, bye Hannah, have fun. And then there was us.
All right,
Next.
Ashley, why don't you go?
Oh man. I would say it's a pretty much more similar thing to like Danielle and Kyle were saying, but I'm not really sure how I feel on who's going to win. Um, I will say that the third parties don't have enough star power, but I feel like they're pulling a little too much star power to if it's like, you know, we're getting ourselves like plastered on TVs now, even if it's just our little 5%, that 5% is taking enough away from certain states, and in states and numbers that we're not really seeing, and we don't know, you know, how many people are going to go out and vote a third party, like who's going to go vote Howie, or who's going to go vote Joe Jorgensen, or who's going to vote any third party that's out there. Those are numbers that not a lot of people are taking into account, and all it takes is that 5 or 15% to take away those numbers away from either Trump or Biden to go to that vote. And it's going to leave the leftovers. And it's, you know, it's really that kind of like, we just gonna find out kind of moment, because they may not be pulling in the star power enough, but their numbers are pulling up news channels, and their numbers are making too many Facebook groups. And
Does anyone see now? Now this is a different kind of prediction I want to ask before we continue. Does anybody see any of the third party getting 5% of the vote so they can get federal funding?
yeah, I did.
Pretty iffy on it. I think that this year could be the best chance that, like, you know, I have my opinions on JoJo, but I see her shit everywhere, bro. They are
JoJo 2020.
their stuff, and the JoJo fanboys they're almost as bad as Trump people. Like, they're so annoying, man. But like, no hate.
I
but
feel
it's like-
attacked though.
no hate, but it's like it's like one of those things where it's like, if you say you're like, oh yeah, I'm voting for Biden, you get one JoJo person being like, like they're as rabid as like the Bernie bros, like sometimes, like, but that actually kind of shows me that they might get the percentage to just eke out some federal funding. Would I be surprised if they didn't? Not at all.
Yeah. They've definitely gotten, I would say they've definitely gotten the name out there for sure. And I'd say like she's gotten her name out there in the sense of like memes. We like there's a Joe Jorgensen group dedicated to making her memes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you repost them and I always roll my eyes.
Always, every time. And I only do it in the aspect, not of so much of just of like what she's saying, you know, because my husband was the one who really like brought her to my attention. But I live for the fact that there's, you know, a woman out there who, you know, is a doctor and is like pushing herself into this world that, you know, it is kind of just ran by men. And I wish there were more women that were standing up there like, all right, let's go. I live for that. It just makes me feel so good inside. Well, like bubbly and stuff. Yes.
Hope, Ben, do you guys have an opinion on that before you guys give your election predictions?
No.
Joe
For
Jorgensen memes forever.
prediction wise, I'm gonna ignore it until Tuesday. I voted, you know, like I did my piece. I'm already thinking about it constantly, and with everything else, school is a lot, and the good old upstairs is not doing too hot these days, so I'm trying to take care of myself above all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tuesday or Wednesday morning, whatever finally comes to be, is like a moment I'm trying not to think about too hard.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get I can't fucking hear you.
I had a panic attack literally 2 days ago thinking about it.
That's why I'm not thinking about it, because it could go in one way to where I feel like such a sense of relief and like things might be okay, or feel like some sense of normalcy or heading in that direction, or it could just be the most detrimental moment that I've experienced in the last half a decade, and I don't want to think about what that's going to look like, so I guess we'll see.
I just want to say that that's like awesome. Like, and anybody who's watching this, like, if you feel that way, like Hope does, like, that's exactly what you should do. You should ignore it. You should go vote and then turn it all off. If you're like
And
me and you don't care about yourself, like, get to work. Get to freaking work.
Yeah.
Me and
But,
Daniel.
but honestly, like, take care of yourself first. I love that. Sorry.
Me and Kyle do not follow that philosophy. We're like that one Sunny in Philadelphia meme. We're like, we're the trash man.
Oh, it's fine. Ben, what you think?
As far as this state, I genuinely don't know. I see a lot of people from both sides every day, but I also have seen a lot of people that I know used to be more central Republicans going to Biden this time because they're so over like just everything that's happening. So that and the fact that a lot more younger people have been more active and wanting to vote gives me some hope for this
Sorry, the
state.
cat was cute.
As far as the country, I very much do think Biden's going to win the votes and get the most votes. I am scared as hell that they're going to fuck with the mail-in ballots, though, and that's going to end up leading to him losing. Because I believe more people in this country want Biden, but there's ways around that, I feel like they might magically lose some ballots or something like that.
COVID.
I mean, it's a pretty safe assumption to assume that the Democrat's going to get the popular vote.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember, when was the last time the Republican actually won the popular vote? Wasn't that in 2004 with Bush v.
Yeah, I think
what's
so.
his name?
Did he even in 04?
I don't think he did. No, the last time the Republicans won the popular vote was Reagan.
It might have been Bush Senior.
Maybe. But I mean, that's
Might have been Bush
like the
Senior.
same time frame.
I will
Right.
say though, these record voting numbers, they're not for Trump.
Mhm.
Most of them, at least. Come on.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because it's one of those things where it's like when you talk about the popular vote, it's so that the popular vote doesn't matter. like when people say like, because like I've like seen this one like videos where people are like, I'm predicting that this person's gonna get the popular. I'm like, okay, tell me who's gonna win the election though.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
Because unfortunately our election system is so fucking dumb and broken that the people don't actually vote for their president.
Yeah.
Land that votes for their president. And sometimes the land that voted for a certain candidate says their electors just like, nah, we're going to vote for the other person anyway. So until the day that the popular vote actually matters, I don't feel like people should even bring it up anymore. Because otherwise,
never mind.
Hillary Clinton as the president. Otherwise, we have Al Gore as the president. Like,
I think Ashley's
Vicky
got a
Vance.
comment, and then I think we should move on to that last statement we got and then start to wrap up.
yeah.
I was just going to say that Daniel was right that the last time they won the popular vote was 2004.
Okay.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
That's enough stress for me for right now. Kyle, word on the street is you've got something to say.
I do. And
Run your mouth, boy.
I'm speaking only as myself right now. I'm not speaking on behalf of the rest of this group. We want guests to always feel safe coming here. We want as many guests as possible. But a certain state assembly candidate told us that she would be here for a debate. She got invited to another debate 2 hours after the recording of ours. And 2 days before all of this, somehow knows about a family emergency, can't make it, but can make it to the event 2 hours later and is there at that event. This candidate, Crystal Miller, if you're listening, Crystal, I have been watching your campaign and I have heard the story you keep telling about being in a community meeting. Listen, I don't know who you are, Crystal. I've never seen you in a community meeting, ever. I only know, all I know about you is that 2 years ago, there was a article in the Kenosha News about Woman for Trump and that you were the president and that it was your group and your meeting. And then I didn't hear about you again for 2 years until you're running for state assembly against Todd Onstad. You're only running because This is your chance to flip this district Republican for the next 10 years. This is all about gerrymandering. This is all about school vouchers. That's what this is about for you. But you don't want to admit that. You want to act like you're some woke savior coming to get the disadvantaged votes and coming to flip this to the Republican Party. But the 65th district is not for you, Crystal. It's not for you. You want to pick your debates in the way that you want to pick your voters when you gerrymander the district after you get elected, and I'm not here for it. So that's just my opinion. I will be happily voting for Todd Onstad on Tuesday. He gave a great interview with Daniel and Isaac. I wish I could have heard your answers, Crystal, because I don't know your position on anything. And that's just all I got to say on it.
Don't you love how you can plan family emergencies like that?
I would like to say I would never want to hear. I'd never want to hear Kyle pissed off like that again. I felt like you were yelling at me the entire.
I'm so sorry.
I'm really upset about it. I'm really upset.
Wow.
Something you said there too, I'll be honest. There's a lot of Republicans. I have no idea where they stand on anything except that they're a politician.
I mean, like, it just comes down to, like, trust. Like, that's the biggest issue in government, is that nobody trusts the freaking government. And it's because of behavior like this.
Yes.
Oh.
I did the interview. I'm going to keep my opinions to myself because
As you should.
fun during that interview. And I want to do some more.
As you should.
Thank you, Kyle, for this statement.
Thank you for just positively popping off.
I'm done.
Beautiful.
Vote for Todd.
I'm gonna get you a T-shirt that says
That is not
positively
sponsored by
popping.
262 Talks.
That's me.
As the spokesman for 262.
Kyle Flood, ladies and gentlemen.
Kyle Flood for president, 20 whenever you're 35.
Yes.
Wow.
That happened.
Oh.
On that note,
I would be sick though if we could have a anarchist first partner though.
I feel like I'm
You're
crying.
just like, I'm basically like a moderate, blah blah blah, and then like, and you're just Devin in the background with a Molotov cocktail. Vote for my husband.
not if gay marriage is legal. Oh, you better hope. Anyway, so there's all that. I don't know. Anyone else got anything to say?
I
You
look
wanna
like a
follow up
pumpkin.
with that?
We should just announce really quick. We're not quite sure what we're doing quite yet for election night, but we are definitely doing something. I think we had brought up that we were going to do like hourly check-ins where we hop onto Zoom for a few minutes, say, for updates on whatever was happening. We will make an announcement on the Facebook page when we kind of solidify what we're going to do. I'm hoping that Hope's going to be with me so we can not have to like constantly be getting her on. So, and Ben was also going to be with me too, adding pressure to both of you now. But yeah, we're going to be doing something for election night because even though we probably won't have results on election night, it's still a huge night. And we'd be a horrible political podcast if we didn't do something for it, right?
Yeah.
I was going to be in full like pupils dilated mode, so.
Adding to that, I want to thank Ben for doing this like very last minute, just sitting next to me like, all right, let's start the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's a good time.
We'll definitely have Ben on more often. I feel like we should have more special guests.
Would be happy
Say
to.
hello.
Precious boy.
But with that, Hope, do you want to close us out so I can?
Yeah. Oh, you cut off at the end there. All right. Well, thanks for listening to 262 Talks and Kyle Flood speaking as Kyle Flood. Yeah. We didn't get to introduce Ashley. She joined in like halfway through, but Ashley, say hi. You're here too.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. We were building a robot.
And name
It's
called
a
it.
robot. It's all right. Understandable. But yeah, thanks for
Necessities.
Thanks for
All right.
listening and giving us attention.
Bye, everyone.
Fantabulous night.
Listening.
Vote, please.
Vote.
Oh.
Bye.